Having a load of gear in your collection doesn't mean a thing if you don't have access to the tools you need when you need them. This is my CarryPoint series, and I'm going to be going through each and every one of these single CarryPoints, explaining what exactly I'm carrying in them and why. And today we're going to be covering my pockets.
What's it got in its pockets is precious.
All right, that's what we're going to find out now. Hi, I'm Dom and welcome back to the Clown's Pocket. Today we're looking at my real on-person pocket setup, what I carry, where it lives and why. So first off, trousers. Let's get straight to the basic layout. Front left pocket, wallet. Right hip, if I'm out without the sling bag, the keys. Front right pocket, SOG PowerPoint clipped to the inside. Fifth pocket, Flame Boy, which used to be a cheap lighter but is now so much more, and usually this small Olight i1R2 EOS. This is the core setup, for my trousers anyway. Everything has a home and I try not to double up too much in terms of functionality. Now the reason I'm using jeans here rather than full cargo trousers, okay, pants, is because early on I used to carry way too much. I would get overexcited and end up with half a shed attached to my legs. The 501s forced me to be more disciplined, so everything had to really earn its place. Also, my wife prefers me in jeans, and it means I'm always halfway ready to go out with friends or to a restaurant. I just need to dig out a shirt, preferably one without checks on it, apparently, and I'm ready to go. These are 501s, waist 36, leg 32, because I know they fit, I know where the pockets are, and I know how my carry works in them. It's the same with the Adidas skate shoes, EU size 47, US 13. I know they fit so reliably they can be bought without me even being there. That's not laziness, that's efficiency. Well, it might also be a bit of laziness. Right, let's start properly with the front left pocket. Front left is always the wallet and it's always attached to a belt loop. This is not one of those minimalist card wallets. This is my little low budget Batman belt, but folded into leather and then shoved in a pocket. I've covered the full contents of the wallet in CarryPoint number 1, so I'll just give you a quick look here rather than unpacking the whole thing again. The important thing for this video is where it lives. Front left, lanyard attached, same place every time, so I know where it is and it's much harder to get nicked or lost along with my cards, ID and EDC goodies. So keys. If I'm out and about without this sling bag, the keychain clips to a belt loop on my right hip. Then around the house, to avoid prison guard comments from my hilarious offspring, I leave them near the door. Now I covered the whole keychain setup in CarryPoint number 3, including the Key Unity KS00 key carabiner, the 58mm classic SD, and then later the keyport scale add-ons like this pocket flare in a separate video that I am linking up here. I will also put links in the description and comments so you can watch detailed videos on these goodies at your leisure. But this becomes important later because if the keychain already gives me a light, I probably don't need another tiny torch in the 5th pocket. Front right, and always front right, as you can see from the fraying, is the SOG PowerPoint. This is the main tool in the setup. Now I've actually got 2 of these because I love the form factor, the gear-driven compound leverage system, which makes it super strong for its size, and the 1/4-inch hex adapter. The PowerPoint's compact enough to carry, it gives me proper pliers, cutting tools, and a file, without feeling like I've got a massive brick in my jeans. Brick with a B. Behave yourself. It can fit in the 5th pocket, but I don't carry it there. For my gone to seed former rugby player build, sitting down or driving with it in there is not pleasant. And my hips have already submitted enough formal complaints as it is. So mine lives clipped inside the main front right pocket where I can get to it easily and pretty much forget about it the rest of the time. I've already done a full PowerPoint series, so I'm not going to turn this into PowerPoint part 4. But I have done some marginally bonkers hacks which you can check on the above playlist to add extra functionality to this, including adapted jigsaw blades, scalpels, files, and other bits. We'll come back to those when we get to the little companion pouch though. But one hack or mod, which I haven't managed to do quickly yet, is adding a really good all-round pair of scissors, which the PowerPoint is unfortunately lacking. And that is where this comes in. This is the classic SD A-locks, and it lives around my neck on a piece of paracord. Now this is not a second multi-tool fighting with the PowerPoint. It's a tiny companion tool that covers the one thing the PowerPoint does not do well enough for me. If the PowerPoint had a really decent pair of scissors, I probably wouldn't need this. One day I may try modifying my spare PowerPoint with 58mm Victorinox scissors, which is the real reason I got it. But that is a future problem for future me. For now though, the PowerPoint covers most of what I need day to day, while the classic SD quietly fills the scissors gap. I have also managed to modify hex adapters for this and 58mm sacks with this file flathead, and you can find an instruction video on how to accomplish this on the channel. Classic SDA locks is a thing that always lives around my neck, but there is one other thing that sometimes joins it. If I'm going travelling or I know I'm going to have some time on my hands, I'll often take these, the JBL 135 BT earbuds. They're not an everyday, every minute carry for me, but they're good for listening to music, audiobooks and podcasts. And I got a round the neck headset because I specifically didn't want to add to my pocket carry. The buds are magnetic, but I still hold them together with one of these little rubber rings, so they're much harder to lose when they're just hanging around my neck. Right, back to the pockets. So in the fifth pocket, or watch pocket, or condom pocket as we called it back home in the 90s, I usually have the Flame Boy, and depending on the keychain situation, the Olight. First the Flame Boy as I call it. I've already done a couple of videos around this little setup, so I won't go into too much detail here, but this is basically where the scale tools, a glue stick, and some duct tape live in my daily carry. So it's not just a lighter, it's a field repair and micro implement platform built around a €2 refillable lighter. Clever, eh? Next to that, if I'm not out and about with my keyring on me, you will find the Olight i1R2 EOS. And this also has its own feature video. The Olight is not my main camping torch, it's the tiny torch that disappears into the fifth pocket until the power goes out, the remote vanishes under the sofa, or I need to avoid one of Max and Luna's surprise garden offerings at night. The hairband is not decoration, it lets me strap this rechargeable flashlight onto my glasses to create the world's least glamorous headlamp. But if I'm carrying the keychain with the pocket flare, the Olight usually stays out. I don't need two tiny lights doing the same job. That's just that old no duplication rule in practice. Now the phone is probably the most used item in the whole setup, and mine has a chunky case for a couple of solid EDC reasons. I covered that properly in the phone and watch CarryPoint video, so I won't go through all of that again here. But the phone is also one of the more awkward things to find a home for. Around the house, it often goes in the back pocket, but if I sit down, it comes out and goes on the desk, the table, or wherever I am. If I'm going out with a coat or jacket, it normally goes into one of those pockets. And if the sling bag comes along, it normally goes in there. So the phone does have a pattern, but it's probably the least fixed item in the on-person setup. Moving upwards from the trousers, the shirt pockets can also become part of the carry system. In winter, this fleece-lined check shirt can be one of my most useful carry layers. In one pocket, if the weather's right, I'll have these clip-on sunglasses, because at my age, I need my proper lenses. And carrying separate sunglasses is just an opportunity to lose an expensive pair of sunglasses, whereas these things are €10 or dollars a pop. And if it's likely to be useful when camping or tinkering, etc., I'll probably carry the PowerPoint companion pouch. In the other pocket, I'll have the Zebra SLF1 pen, and a small notebook. The Zebra is the normal resident. It is a fantastic telescopic steel ballpoint EDC pen. And they're getting harder to find every passing day. If you find one, I recommend you grab it because they're great to write with and super carryable. The Sharpie and IKEA pencil are not everyday items. They come along when I'm actually doing DIY type work, marking wood, cutting stuff, or generally just trying to look like I know what I'm doing. The notebook is not an official field notebook. I've never really been one for those. This is just reused A4 notepad paper, invoices, mail, etc. with one clean side cut down to size and then stapled together. But it's great for jotting down something quickly. Writing something down helps it sink in mentally, and it's also good for playing hangman with the kids over a burger or a frozen yogurt. Then there's the Decathlon Solognac hunting shirts. These are heavy cotton autumn into winter shirts with one nice sturdy pocket. I've got a few colours because once something works, I tend to stop shopping around and start repeating. In summer, I'll wear much thinner shirts with short sleeves, like technical wicking fabric shirts. Or maybe even a Hawaiian William Butcher type shirt, and a lot of the time they don't even have a pocket. That's where the cargo shorts come in later. Now this is the PowerPoint companion pouch. Very important. It's not my main full multi-tool odd job pouch. This will get its own CarryPoint episode later on. This little pouch exists to support the PowerPoint and contains peripherals I've designed like saws and the like. Now the PowerPoint lives in the jeans pocket, and this pouch, when I carry it, usually lives in a shirt pocket or in the summer in some cargo shorts. This gives the PowerPoint extra capability without me carrying a full-size multi-tool on my belt. Inside here I've got 6 1/4 inch hex bits in a rubber holder so they stay together. I've got a banknote as a cash backup. I've got a 1/4 inch to 4mm adapter and a 4mm to 1/4 inch adapter, and these actually work well together as a bit extender. There's a longer flathead hex bit which I generally use as a pry bar. Then there are 2 tiny 4mm bits for glasses, a flathead, and then a Phillips 00. There's some fishing line and a small pack of neodymium magnets on a keychain clip for key fishing down a drain or something equally annoying. The magnets live in here and not in my wallet because I like my bank cards functional. Then there are the adapted PowerPoint tools. So there's a wood saw, a metal saw, a double-sided file with crosscut on one side and diamond on the other. All of these are adapted jigsaw T-shanks, a small scalpel, and a chisel and wire stripper I made from an old blunt jigsaw blade. This pouch exists because the PowerPoint is small, but the unique grippage of the hex adapter lets it punch well above its weight. And again, I've got videos showing how to do these hacks, so I'm linking them rather than turning this into a workshop video. This little thing probably deserves its own moment and came about one day when I had a bit of stiff wire and too much free time on my hands. It's just an IKEA pencil with a homemade clip. The pencil is disposable and gets used for marking and shaving off bits of wood to use as filler. It's especially useful when you're replacing enormous wall plugs from the disco era. IKEA pencils are free when you go in there, and when this one is used up, I can move the clip on to the next one. It's just a bit of wire bent around until it looked enough like a clip to get away with it. Cheap, replaceable, and along with these paper tape measures, one of the few IKEA items I don't need instructions for. This is the Salamander Tech S812 Flax. Not a daily carry for me, but if I'm having a barbecue or going camping or heading into a more outdoorsy situation, I'll often take this. Salamander Tech is a Spanish knife brand from Albacete, my wife's hometown and the knife mecca of Spain. And this is a pretty impressive Spanish foray into modern EDC knives. The bearings make it a lovely easy flicker, and I normally take the pocket clip off so I can make the most of those nice grippy flax scales. Doesn't have its own video yet, but it probably deserves one. One piece of clothing I almost forgot is this thin sleeveless hoodie. It used to have sleeves. Then I broke the radial head in my right elbow falling off a skateboard while teaching my left-handed son how to ride Goofy. At 40 odd years of age, my brain was not accepting those kind of radical updates. So the sleeves came off so I could get the plaster cast in and out. I've broken all sorts of bones in my life playing rugby, but this particular injury came from spending quality time with my kids, so I'm oddly proud of it. Anyway, the hood is also brilliant for flights or when it's my wife's turn to drive on a road trip. Hood over the eyes, earbuds in, sleep hypnotic music on, and I'm off. Now I'm from the north of England where we do layers. Like I'm genetically designed for drizzle, fisherman's jumpers, and calling 54 degrees Fahrenheit barbecue weather if the wind drops. So I'm not a fan of the heat, it makes me drowsy. Which raises the obvious question, what am I doing living in Spain? Well, that's the love of a good woman for you. My point is, in winter, I'd rather add layers with the radiator off than sit in a warm room slowly powering down like an old laptop. And this is one of the first extra layers that goes on. For 3 or 4 months of the year here, it's just way too hot for jeans. So the cargo shorts come out, and that gives me more pocket options than jeans, which is useful in the summer when I might be wearing a t-shirt and not have any shirt pockets. But the important thing is the main items stay in the same places. The wallet stays where the wallet lives. Same for the PowerPoint, the Flame Boy, and the Olight. The shorts add pockets, but they don't reset the system. I've learnt my lesson from the old cargo trouser days. Just because there's an empty pocket, it doesn't mean you have to feed it. One of the extra pockets is zipped, so that's good for the phone. Another pocket can take the zebra pen, and if I need them, the Sharpie and the IKEA pencil. If I don't have a shirt pocket, the lower pockets can take the notebook, the clip-on sunglasses, and then when needed, the PowerPoint companion pouch. So in hot weather, the cargo shorts take over some of the shirt pocket carry. The system adapts, but it doesn't start from zero. If I'm going out for the day, shopping centre, urban wandering, family day out, then I'll often take the sling bag, or man bag, or tactical handbag, whatever. Choose whichever term causes you the least emotional damage. Once this comes with me, the pockets stop having to solve every problem. So the phone, the keys, and even companion pouch can go in the bag. And I might even add a different multi-tool instead of the PowerPoint. But that's a whole different carry layer. So the sling bag and backpack setups will get their own CarryPoint videos. So that is my real on-person pocket setup. Not every item comes out every time, but everything has a usual home. Wallet front left, keys on the right hip when I'm out without the sling, PowerPoint front right, classic SD around the neck as the PowerPoint's tiny scissors companion, and the Flame Boy and the Olight in the fifth pocket. Phone wherever it makes most sense, depending on clothing or bag. So shirt pockets or cargo pockets for the support items, and context items like the Salamandra Tech only come along when the day gives them a reason. That for me is the point. It's not about carrying as much as possible. It's about knowing what earns a place, where it lives, and what changes when the situation changes. When I next do a CarryPoint video, we'll go beyond the pockets and into the Viperade EDC odd job pouch. This is what saves me pulling out my full DIY tool bag every time there's a loose screw or a vanity desk that needs assembling or something like that. Before then, however, I'll be releasing a video on this little gem that I got lent for a weekend. The Victorinox SOS Super Timer Survival Kit, a rare treasure from the 90s that I was lucky enough to spend some time with. So make sure to subscribe to see when that drops. And if you found this video useful, please like, share and subscribe to the Clown's Pocket. Tell me in the comments what your own on-body layout looks like, and let me know if you've solved phone carry. Because for something we lug around every day, it remains really annoying to find a permanent home for. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this, and I'll see you again on the next one. All the best. Bye-bye.